Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of Coptic Youth Radio Hour here on 92.3 FM, 3ZZZ, in association with CYC Tuned In. Thanks, guys, for tuning in and listening. I'm your host, Mark Risk. On the program today, we have a special guest, Fady Malek. And he's going to discuss with us the concept of business ownership, how you can buy your own business, and we'll talk to him about how he's going with his business and the disadvantages that he's seen and all those sorts of questions. It'll be a good insight if anyone is trying to start their own business. Make sure to tune in. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast to catch all the latest episodes. We're on SoundCloud and we're on iTunes, Coptic Youth Radio. Make sure to download any podcast application and subscribe to Coptic Youth Radio. And we're also on, if you haven't done so already, please like our Facebook page, 92.3 FM, 3ZZZ Coptic Youth Radio, plus Coptic Youth Radio on Snapchat. We're all on media, except Instagram and Twitter, which... that's it for me. Stay tuned. Back here on Coptic Youth Radio Hour in association with CYC Tuned In the studio with Fady Malek. Thanks, Fady, for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
He's our special guest today. And for our first topic, we wanted to sort of discuss business and the concept of business ownership, how to run a business, how to get started in owning your own business franchise. And Fady's got a great experience in that field, and he's kindly offered his time to help us, help the listeners go about how to own their own business. Thanks, Fady, for coming. We'll start with when did you start your business? Your own business?
I started in March 2003, and I actually opened the first store in June, 3 months later. Yeah. So,
what type of business is it?
I'm in the Subway business, Subway franchise. Yeah.
How long have you had that for?
So the first store was in June. We opened the doors in June, but I had my franchise agreements set up in March 2003.
Yeah. What made you choose Subway over anything else?
All right. Well, at the time, probably Subway wasn't as popular as it is now. But I did study Boost Juice and Gloria Jeans. But I narrowed it down to Subway. I've always been a Subway fan. Even in my previous work, I used to eat Subway almost every day.
Did you collect the coupons? Remember that little coupon?
Yeah, the stamps. Yeah.
The stamps.
Yeah. No, I did do that as well. But I found Subway was for me was the safest option. I think I made the right decision. Yeah.
How many stores do you have?
At the moment, I've got 2. I opened 3 in total. I've got just 2 stores at the moment. Yeah.
Which location?
Okay. I've got Carlton, what's the original store, and then I opened another one in Essendon Fields, and then I opened one in Melbourne Uni. So I've got at the moment the ones that are next to each other, which is Carlton and Melbourne Uni.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
Would you recommend purchasing an existing establishment business or a new one?
Well, for me, I'm a risk taker, so I purchase new businesses usually and build them up. For a beginner or someone who's not so much willing to take risks, I'll probably recommend you purchase an existing business. You know what the figures are doing. You got peace of mind. All right, you might pay a bit more than setting up a new business, but at least you have security and peace of mind. If you open a new business, it's hit and miss. It could be a great business, could be a flop, and then you'll lose what you paid for it. So
So the two that you got, the one in Carlton and Essendon Fields, did you purchase them or were they brand new?
Yeah, no, I set all of them up from scratch. I haven't. I've never purchased an existing business before. But nothing to say that if I did exit the subway system and I look at another business, I might probably look at an existing one. To answer your question, no, I've set them up from scratch. Yeah.
Nice. How can you be certain that what you found was the right business? Like, is there another business that you thought could have done better or anything like that? Or
okay. Well, look, you certainly have to do your homework, and you need to ask as many questions as you can, and even that it doesn't guarantee you anything. So I think the best answer I can give you is you got to rely on your the spiritual factor of it. So lots of prayers. You can put things on the altar. You speak to your confession father, but I think if God's blessing the business, you'll find that all doors will open. If God's sending you a message, you'll find a lot of resistance. And I'm not saying you won't get resistance anyway, but it will be more than expected. And then it's usually a sign that this is not the ideal business. But if everything is going smooth and you've come over some obstacles here and there, then that's normal. But if you're finding some really strong resistance, then it's probably best that you try and look for something else. Yeah. So there's a lot of bit of luck and prayers involved. Yeah.
How can you sort of tell between like something that's like strong resistance or something that's it's something small and you can overcome it?
Sure. Look, if it's becoming like almost impossible to acquire the business, let's say none of the banks want to lend you money for it. There's a bit of conflict between you and a franchisor in my example, and then like you want to get into any expense, you're probably going against God's will. That's but if you come across a few hurdles and you have to sort of maybe ask a relative, can you lend me some mum and dad like 15,000-20,000 to get the loan over the line, and I call them just small hurdles or obstacles. But I think you'll know that you'll know whether you're really pushing your luck or not. At the time. So
I think for me, I was going to apply for this job, and at the time it was a really small company, and the person that was leaving was showing me around and stuff and trying to like tell me, oh, this is how it is and things like that. And at the same time, two workers, lower workers, like just factory line workers, they wanted to leave as well. And I was going in there hesitant, like I already had something that I'm comfortable in, and then I was going in there and thinking, this could be something, but you see that, and then it's just tells you like, okay, maybe, maybe this doesn't, because it just doesn't feel right. Like you just know inside.
That's right.
Like there's this feeling you have, like, this feels right, and then sometimes just when something doesn't feel right, and it's not sort of what God had planned for you.
I agree. And I think you probably need to feel at peace with the whole concept. And you, like you said, you will know for yourself. Yeah.
What are some of the benefits of owning Subway, of your own business?
Yeah. Well, there is a few. Obviously, flexibility. Like you're not really tied down to a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday job. So at the beginning, you probably have to spend a lot of hours, but after the first 3 or 6 months, then you can start. Things will settle down. So let's say, for example, if I have a meeting on that I need to go to, I can always roster someone else to cover me. I can start later. I can take a day off if I want to. If you have a really good manager, you can take some holidays. So I don't really have anyone to answer to, apart from the franchisor, which they only come once a month anyway. So, the flexibility and that's probably the biggest bonus. The second one would probably the fact that you're putting your heart and soul into something that you own, and everything you generate is coming to you. You're benefiting from, you're reaping your own rewards. So rather than making someone else rich, you make yourself rich. Yeah. So that's probably the main two benefits. If you can repeat the question,
the benefits of owning your own.
So those are the two benefits. Yeah, I thought you were going to ask me the disadvantages, but no. Okay.
So how was it at the start? Because initially, any business you start, you're taking work home, and it might be a bit stressful on the family, such a early start. How did you sort of get through that? What are some tips that you have that got you through that?
Sure. Look, it's a good question because business is not for everyone. I touch wood and thank God. It was stressful at the beginning, but I've overcome it. But I've known a few other people. I wouldn't say a lot, but there's a few other people that went into business and then they didn't last, and then they sold the business. But I think you got to be willing to put in open till close. Especially if it's a brand new store you're opening from scratch. I was there from opening to close. I remember I used to have my car in the car park, and I'd go down for a little bit of a snooze and then go back up again. I had my fiance at the time. I was pretty lucky. She took 4 weeks annual leave when we first opened our first store. She was a great help. My wife now. You can try and rely on some family members as well to help you through this stressful period. But look, it doesn't, once you're on your feet, within 2 or 3 months, you can start to pull back. And then the more experience you become, it only becomes easier after that. Yeah.
What was some of the challenges that you saw in the people that you saw that couldn't maintain the business? What was the main factor that they made them drop off, kind of thing?
Sure. Look, I think they couldn't handle stress. You got to be willing to take on a lot of stress at the beginning. I think they found that maybe dealing with staff and all the issues that comes with it is a biggest dilemma. You probably ask any business owner, the first complaint you'll have is staff. So they had, it wasn't worth their hassle. They were happy. Those are the type of people that like their Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, annual leave, sick leave, and don't take your work home. But if you got to throw all that out the window when you go into your own business, that's probably the main factors: staffing and the fact that they couldn't handle the stress of the business.
Look, we'll just take a short break, and we'll be back with Fady to continue. Back here on Coptic Youth Radio. Fady has kindly stayed for our second segment.
Thank you.
We'll just continue off from where we left you guys. Just asking a few more questions, getting a bit more insight into business ownership. Fady, what are some of the challenges that you faced, or the disadvantages that you face as an owner?
Sure. Probably the biggest disadvantage or challenge that faces any business owner I speak to, or small business owner, is staff. I keeping on top of the team, and making sure you have enough. And the bigger the team, like I have 20 plus, so everyone has their own
Is that 20 per store or?
No, for the 2 stores.
Yeah.
I have over 20 staff, so every single one of those staff members have their own problems, have their own issues, and look, they're genuine issues, but you still answer to me. So as much as I try and offload some of it onto the assistant managers, but some things they can't handle themselves. So basically everything comes back to you, and you try and work through them. But the biggest challenge is keeping up with all the laws and regulations that are imposed on employers. I think there's a lot of them. It's definitely the laws unfortunately favour the employee, and I'm not just being a whining employer either. And some of the other challenges is perhaps you had a bad year, things are not going as expected, so you're not taking home as much as you've forecasted. So it could be like some finance issues. Fortunately, in my case, and thank God, I haven't had to experience a lot of that. So I'd probably put it down to complying with all the laws and regulations as an employer and as a franchisee, and keeping on top of the staff issues.
Was it a struggle to get a loan or a finance for the business? How was the process there?
Okay, all right. I was pretty fortunate when I opened up my first store. My uncle, he passed away. He's been in Australia for a very long time. He left me and my brothers $70,000 each, so plus whatever I was earning at the time. So that helped me as a deposit.
When was this? Back in 2000?
2003. So without that, I couldn't have started what I did. So I was fortunate there. I used that money and invested it into my first business. I still had to borrow, obviously, from the bank. The bank at the time said, "All right, we'll take your savings and then the money that you've inherited," and then they lent me money against the plant and equipment. So they whatever, like if the oven or like a cool room or a fridge or a toaster or whatever, they let me money against that. Generally speaking, with obtaining finance, the bank will probably lend you at least 50% of the purchase price of the business, or if you're setting up a new store, they will allow you to spend money to whatever the equipment will cost. In some days, Subway was some banks were lending 70% of the purchase price, but now things are a bit tough and they're being a bit cautious. So they've lowered it to about 50%. So you need to come up with that 50%, the difference. In whether by cash savings or some equity in property that you own.
So you can use the equity for your property towards the business.
Towards that 50%. If the bankers were only willing to lend you 50%, then you'll have to have equity or cash equivalent to the other 50%. That's
interesting. You touched on like one of the disadvantages was the staff. Your staff, are they full-time or part-time or casuals?
Okay, I have a mix. The managers are full-time, and most of the others are part-time, and then you have some casuals. Usually they start off on casual till you get to know them a bit more, and then you can put them onto part-time or if they're...
And you found that's like the best
way to... Yes, that's definitely the best outcome for a business owner. Part-time rates are a little bit lower than casual. Obviously, I'm not going to lie, as any business owner, you want to minimize your overheads. So, but there is some casuals there's less laws and regulations. If you wanted to dismiss them or something, it's easier than a full-time or a part-time member.
Have you had any like issues or with your staff members?
Well, funny you mentioned when you say like a major issue, or there's always little things, obviously naturally, but I did have a I've been in it's since 2003. Now we're in 2017, so 14 years. I've never had one Fair Work claim against me or anything, but I did receive one by someone who I didn't expect to put one in. It was an unfair dismissal claim only a couple of weeks ago, so I've gone 14 years without any issues at all. This particular staff member, I still love and respect. She felt that I dismissed her, unfairly dismissed her, but in reality, she had a lot of warnings. I could have probably dismissed her about 6 times over during the 2-year period that she was with me, but I gave her chances, and I dismissed her at a time where the business was going quiet, during school holidays usually. So she interpreted that I dismissed her because of something that she did at that time of dismissal. So she's put in a claim against me, even though she hasn't really completed. It's an incomplete claim, but but I'm pretty sure we'll be able to work through it and withdraw that claim.
Wow, that's really scary. Like when you get something like that, but if you feel like you've done everything right, I guess you have nothing.
Well, look, I have more warnings, written warnings than I need to. There is a myth that you need to have 3 written warnings before you dismiss a start. That's a myth. You can have as little as 1. Depends on how serious it is. Where in this particular staff members, I've got more than 3 written warnings, and I've got some evaluations as well. So there's a whole file on that. Yes. But let's hope it doesn't get to Fair Work or
We've been talking about having a franchise business. Do you how about if you wanted to not have a franchise and start your own sort of business, like in the sandwich business, but not have that Subway title? Because you pay Subway to have that title of Subway.
Yes.
What do you think, how about if someone wanted to start their own sort of burger joint, same as Subway's concept, but just without the Subway?
Yep. Look, I think if they have the confidence and experience, perhaps, then that's good. In my case, I did work while I was studying at uni. I did work in 7-Elevens and petrol stations, and I've always been in that retail hospitality industry. So even that didn't give me enough confidence to go into my own, set up something, a non-franchise business. I went into the franchise business because I have a system. I didn't really have experience owning my own business, so I just follow. You just follow the system pretty much. So I would probably recommend, if it's your first business, probably go franchise. And then if you gain enough experience and you're sick of franchise and dealing with franchisors, then you can move on to a non-franchise business.
Because you've learned the skills and how to run it by that stage.
Exactly.
What sort of advice do you have for our listeners who are wanting to start their own business? Okay,
well, first of all, do your homework, because unfortunately, a lot of the businesses, if you're going to buy an existing businesses, I find that what the business broker tells you, or it's not real. It's not real. It doesn't match reality. So you need to do a due diligence through your accountant, even though it's going to cost you maybe $2,000-$3,000, but it's going to save you in purchasing a dud business. So you got to do your homework, ask questions, find out if there's competition coming in the area. What reason is that? It's up to you to find out what's the reason. The real reason why this person is selling. Look at that, and there are genuine. Sometimes there are genuine sellers out there. So, rule number 1: do your homework. Okay, and make sure you have a bit of working capital. Don't put every single cent in the business, and then you've left nothing to work with, because you do obviously have at the beginning, you have bills and a lot of things coming in, and not so much not a lot of income. So you just have enough to keep you going, and whether it's $30,000-$40,000 or something to get you through the early stages. What else? Ask me the question again. Okay.
Any benefits?
Okay.
Sorry, not benefits. Sorry. Any advice that you have?
Okay. Yeah. As far as staff, always. And I'll give this advice to everyone who calls me about Subway. Always have more than what you require, because there's always a case like I could walk out of this meeting today, I get a phone call and someone, I need someone's happened to my dad, I need to go overseas, and you
my
might
dog's
say
sick or something,
or whatever. Yeah, I've heard it all. So look, you can get a resignation email any second, you can get a phone call any second, or you can go for 12 months and nothing happens. So you got to be prepared. So I think it's always best to have one or two extra staff members than what you really need. That way, if these things happen, you're ready, and or instead of them maybe doing like 15 hours each, you might need to increase it to 30 or 40 hours just till you replace the ones that have left. So always have more than what you require, and I think if you can have a good team and enough staff, I think. Then things will run a lot easier, and you'll be less stressed.
Fady, thanks so much for coming in and sharing your knowledge and insight
thank you for having
into opening up your own business. So if you want to get free sandwiches,
don't come to Subway Carlton.
Fady's offering Subway Carlton free sandwiches. Thank you so much. Stay tuned, guys.
Thank you.
And that's all the time we have for you guys. Thanks again for joining us. Thank Fady, he's gone now, but we really appreciate him coming in, and I hope you guys gained a deeper insight into business ownership. As always, you can like our Facebook page, 92.3 FM, 3ZZZ Coptic Youth Radio. Also, if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to our podcast, Coptic Youth Radio, for all the latest programs, just like this one if you've missed it, or if you want to listen to previous ones. That's it from us here in Melbourne. See you guys next week.